must register and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator at this time. Following the public hearing, the board will conduct its monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay for the meeting and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and the town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decision. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of a decision can sign the sheet at the table at the front of the room. Those wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for hearing each application is, after the application is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will have an opportunity to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the board. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the board's field observations and any staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a brief rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone at the front of the room, state their name, and direct their comments to the board. I will ask that all testimony be kept brief, no more than 5 minutes, and to the point. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and the recordings will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The board has looked at all the properties, and the record will reflect these observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this board has 30 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeals shall be heard by the Waushara County Circuit Court. Information is available from the Clerk of Court's office and qualified legal counsel. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. Now I introduce the rest of the board. To my left are Larry Tim, John Benz, George Wilson, Kevin Fitzgerald. My name is Roger Wagner. Terry Dopp-Paukstad, zoning administrator, is at my right. First variance to be considered tonight, Harvey and Patricia Lakonen, Jackson, Wisconsin, have made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-542, paragraph C, paragraph 2 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to construct a 16 by 24 single-story attached garage coming to within 11 feet of the westerly side lot line, 15-foot setback required in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location, a parcel of land lying south of a channel and north of County Road H, being part of the southeast one quarter, the northwest one quarter, section 36, Town of Bloomfield, W380, County Road H. Is the applicant present? Would you come forward, please, and state your name?
Harvey Lakonen?
Patricia Lakonen.
Okay. Do you
Okay, here we go.
You have anything you would like to tell the board tonight, or should we just go with some general questions?
I think so.
Guess,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay. Has there been a recent survey of the property?
Probably, was it 6 years ago when we purchased it?
Okay.
The side boundary is marked with a metal pipe, however, so it's very clearly marked.
Yes.
Okay. So you're sure of the property lines?
Absolutely.
Could you just briefly describe what you want to do there?
We're looking to construct, and there was an error on there, it's 16 by 26 garage that we looking to attach onto the existing home. There's a garage, there is a garage there, however, it is small, it's not adequate, and we needed additional storage. We do have the ability to put a building, a non-attached building in that area. However, without a variance, however, we felt that it would be more appealing, more aesthetic to attach it to the home and make it part of the house.
Okay. Have you talked to the neighbors and the town board about this?
Town board was out and they did okay it. They're fine with it. The neighbors on either side, we spoke to both of them, and they have no objection.
Okay. What type of foundation? Is this gonna be on a slab?
It's gonna be 4-foot footings.
Okay,
It's gonna be attached.
okay. And you're gonna probably add existing grade, you're not gonna build it up or anything?
I don't believe anything's going to have to be done, much of anything.
Seems pretty level in that area.
Okay.
I'd say within 6 inches or a foot at the most.
I guess all we're concerned about, that you don't build it up and divert a lot of water onto the neighbors and that kind of thing. You're sure you're out of the floodplain there?
Yes, we are not in the floodplain there.
Okay. And the finished height will be less than the current?
Finished height would be, what, 8 feet?
It's 8 feet, 1.5 inches on the inside will be, inside walls, and it has a 412 pitch.
It will be of the construction of the home with the identical siding, identical roof. It'll exactly match.
Probably won't have any stormwater issues there. You were gonna pitch the roof, the other where,
We're pitching it
away from the neighbor.
Won't be any problem with water.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, right now, even with all the rain, we have something in the
Any other improvements planned at this time?
No.
All other setbacks will be met? And the sewer lateral is out in front of you? You're not gonna be interfering with that? No change to the driveway?
Just the addition of the, what is it?
Yeah, approach to the
Approach
drive.
in concrete.
There'll be enough room for parking and, so you're not backing out onto the highway?
No, the driveway's quite long. Mhm.
I guess what hardships and unique property limitations would support this?
Well, our current garage is not normal depth of most garages that are built
So
nowadays.
it's- so
They're like
it's-
20 feet on the inside, and that's it.
So it's not
For
quite
most are like
adequate.
24. I cannot add any place in the back. What's in the back is 10 feet off the channel, and it's oversized, but there's nothing that can really be
For
done
today's,
it.
for today's standard, so it's really the only place we can put anything.
Okay. Any other committee questions?
You said you won't be backing onto the highway. Are you going to provide a turnaround?
I can back right in my driveway. if you
Oh,
want.
okay, fine.
With what I have, it's wide enough. You got like a double wide driveway already? And with the extras, I could just back and out. I don't like backing out on
No.
any road.
Any other committee questions? Okay. Thank you. Correspondence?
We have one letter received October 9th from the town of Bloomfield. It's addressed to me, the Washera County Zoning Administrator. It says, on October 2nd, 2012, the town of Bloomfield Plan Commission met to discuss the variance request by Harvey and Patricia Lukonen to construct a 16 by 24 single-story attached garage to come within 11 feet of the westerly lot line. After reviewing the plans, the Plan Commission unanimously approved the request. Immediately after the Plan Commission meeting, the town of Bloomfield Town Board met and voted unanimously to approve the request also. And that's signed sincerely Mark Stibbs, Town of Bloomfield Chair. That's it, and no one registered to speak.
Staff comments?
For the record, the board has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this and all the other applications they will be considering tonight. And they have also visited all the properties and viewed the proposals and their location on site. At this time, I'd like to explain a little bit about variances. Variances ask for a relaxation of a dimensional standard in the code. The decision to grant a variance must be backed by substantive reasons. These include an unnecessary hardship as being caused by the code requirement. There are unique limitations on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standards. And finally, if the variance is granted, that no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. It is the applicant's responsibility to present the case and provide that burden of proof as to why the variance should be granted. The personal situation of the applicant, financial hardship, or nearby violations cannot be considered as valid reasons to grant a variance. When the board visited the property, they noted that the new garage would be 16 by 26, not 16 by 24, as noted on the application. It would be 1 story in height. and the roof line would match the other side of the home. This is on the west, that would be on the east, except it would not be as high as the other part of the house. It's going to be lower in profile. They also noted that there's a shed on the west lot line to the north of this proposed construction, but the applicant indicated that that would be removed. And they also noted there's a boathouse present along the channel that exceeds the size limit that would be allowed today, but that it does appear to meet the applicable setbacks. And I really have no comments on this application.
Okay. We have an appeal tonight. Kim and Melody Williamson. Yeah. Kim and Melody Williamson, Pine River, Wisconsin, have filed an appeal of the Waushara County to the Waushara County Board of Adjustments in accordance with Section 58-106 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to an administrative decision of the Waushara County Zoning Administrator related to alterations and or additional documentation being required for an accessory building authorized by land use permit number 530-07. Location, a 13.04 acre parcel of land known as Lot 2 of Certified Survey Map 4139, being part of the northeast one quarter, the southeast one quarter, Section 26, Town of Saxville, W2909, County Road M. The applicant present?
Melody Williamson.
Kim Williamson.
Okay. Do you have anything to briefly summarize why you're here?
Just my letter that I sent in September.
Okay.
We're saying that the garage is not a two-story, that it is a one-story with a walkout, the same as our house is. And we're indicating that the water is self-contained, and then the patio and the deck not be removed.
Okay. Do you want to explain a few things about
Sure.
why we're here
Sure we
tonight?
can. The way appeals work is we're going to follow the same format as the previous hearing with a few differences, and I'll tell you what those are. The board has been furnished with a copy of the entire record concerning this appeal. They've received all the information that you submitted. They also reviewed the action and discussions that have taken place to date between your office or our office and yourself. And they've also reviewed the applicable sections of the zoning code. They've looked at examples of previous enforcement action and permit requirements. The board also viewed the property. We came out there on the date that you were told we would be there and looked at the property and the structure at the center of this appeal. The board may limit testimony tonight to new and additional information so that we keep our discussion centered on this situation. I'd like to explain a little bit of what authority the board has. They are something that is called a quasi-judicial body, and they can look at this appeal and they can grant your appeal and overturn my decision. They can deny the appeal and support my decision, or they can kind of do something in between. They can modify the original decision and add conditions or make adjustments to that decision as they see fit. So that's what they can do, and based on our testimony and submittal. And we had quite a bit of written testimony as well, so, okay.
Can you briefly summarize your comments and arguments for the board?
Did you want me to just read the cover letter?
Well, just summarize it, I guess. We've all got the letter, so.
Okay. Essentially, I'd like to leave it as is. Leave the deck in place, leave the water tank with the associated into the sink. And I prefer not to sign an affidavit saying I can't lounge or whatever. I don't care what the living room or what to live there. But I don't like the idea of being told not to lounge.
bend it up.
Okay. Yeah, my problem was more of the lounging part of it. And if I want to sit in my garage, I should be able to do that without violating something.
Also with the restriction, if you ever sell, there's a
Yeah.
restriction on property.
It looks, I don't know, bad, I guess.
Okay, can you summarize what your water situation is there?
Okay, essentially, I have a pressurized water tank that you would have well in a home, and I fill it with water in the spring before Melvin starts to plant with a garden hose, and I just disconnect the garden hose, drain it so it doesn't freeze. So it's a contained system.
So any,
There's no associated pumps or
any wastewater that is generated there, where does that go?
that goes out the side, and that would be overspray from the spraying the bedding.
Okay.
I mean, there's no shower or toilets or anything in there. Essentially, that's what the sink's for, is to catch the overspray. Because the floor is nothing but particle board. So if that was to constantly get wet, eventually that would be rotten, and I'd have to get rid of that.
Okay, what information do you have for the committee that might substantiate the decision by the zoning administrator was incorrect?
Other than the fact that it's not a violation of any regulation, it's more a violation of, I guess, someone's opinion. And I would like to think that my opinion as a homeowner and a taxpayer counts for something. Doesn't bother anybody. And I think I mentioned in my letter that, you know, the exit pipe, I could get rid of that. For a amount of overspray, I could just put a pail underneath it, you know, if that was one of the major problems. But I do like the spray on the nozzle for doing the seeds.
So why do you feel the zoning administrator made an incorrect decision on what you've done out there?
Because it's intrusive.
Well, we don't think it's well, from the first point, we don't think it's a two-story building. We think it's a one-story building, and for that fact, then signing the affidavit is not needed. And then also the patio door and the deck, we asked about that, and they said it just looks too nice. You could live in it, but we would never live in it, so I think that isn't in the regulations, so we feel as though that's an opinion. And the reason we put the patio doors in is because I replaced the house doors down in the basement, and put in French doors, and instead of throwing away the patio door, we put it into the garage on the side. And then, of course, if you open up the patio door, you gotta walk out, so we put the deck there. And I use my plants out there, and I harden them, and then I bring them back in, and then I take them out and bring them back in. It's just a little hobby. So that's the reasoning behind this. But we didn't know that was a violation to have a deck, and we don't believe it is a violation to have a deck or a patio door. And the water is not a violation to have water into a garage, correct?
Or a hose.
Or a hose.
Do you have any information that would substantiate there were improprieties of handling this matter?
Not really. They're stubborn.
We're stubborn though.
Yeah. So,
But,
it's not like,
we don't feel as though it's a violation on any of the parts.
Do you feel the zoning office has done anything wrong towards your case?
I don't think it's a case, I guess that's the opinion that we have. It's not a case. I never thought a one-story house, or a one-story house and one-story garage would be a two-story. That that was news to us. When we took the permit out, we took the plans there and clearly showed that we had a walkout, and that's where our garage, that's where our lawnmowers are placed. So this is all surprise to us that we would have any violations.
Do you have any other questions or comments?
I have one. Your application stated that you wanted to build a 32 by 46 detached garage on a slab for personal storage. Have you ever seen other garages with patios and walkouts and things of that nature? And okay, the county has had in the past similar situations as this. And we don't want to set a precedent, and so those have been corrected by affidavits or changes to the buildings. So you have a choice. We're not going to set a new precedent by allowing this, I don't think. It's only one, my opinion. But in the past, we have not allowed this, and we have made people sign affidavits or make corrections. So that is our precedent that we currently have.
Well, I had mentioned to Terry that I would sign the affidavit if they would take the word lounging out of it.
See, the problem with that is that if you ever go to sell it, then the people would say, well, gee, we can lounge out there. There's nothing in the affidavit that says we can't use it as a, you aren't going to use it for habitation.
No.
But if it remains there with a nice patio and et cetera, plumbing in there, someone else may want to use it for. And so that would be a precedent that we don't want to set.
But my question then would be, because this garage is on my property, right next to my house, would you want neighbors that would be willing to live in a building without water or heat?
Maybe you could subdivide and turn it into a house.
No, I put the
It's
house
almost
on
that
the
nice.
lot where it is because I don't want people near
I
me.
know.
Yeah.
So,
That's all I have.
Any other questions?
What is the building from the lowest part to the highest part? And your permit, you have 18 feet. 18 feet, 1 story.
Plans there that showed the walkout.
it would have been nice if,
And the reason we didn't make it one story that way is because we had to haul in all that dirt to make it level. So we decided to just dig it into the hill, it's the same as the houses. So,
Kind of more
it's
like
a lower level
kind of more
for
like
my
a house.
garage.
Kind of more like a house than a garage, then, isn't it? That's the way you have it. You got to walk out in your house.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, and this
Yeah.
now has got to walk out in a garage.
we'll have to drive where, like,
Drive.
say where we park our.
It's,
Alright.
your words.
Yeah,
Walk out.
yeah, I said walk out.
Yep.
It's where where the lawnmowers go.
Sure.
Definitely
I have some questions, yeah.
stories, look at. You have a basement and a story, or you have a two-story, and your permit, I think what they're getting at, calls for a one-story on slab. Now, the second story is the storage area, which we would assume by your original permit, is on joist construction, not on a slab.
Well, this would have been nice to have been addressed at the time of the permit.
We took the plans there and applied for the permit with the plans.
See, a lot of this would have been resolved at that point then.
Your application could have had a little more information in it.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
I did look up the definition of what a slab is, and it's, one of the definitions I found was, well, a structure built on a slab foundation has no below-grade space that can be used for residential or storage purposes.
And we do have storage
You
down
know, I looked at it, I wanted to see what the definition of a slab was.
the other last thing maybe would be that you feel comfortable with what information that you presented us, because this is a public hearing. When we can take that information, when we go in to make a decision, we can no longer hear any more comment.
I have some questions for Terry. Are you going to be at the next meeting, at the business meeting?
No.
Proper for me to ask you questions now?
Yep. And I am going to have some comments. So if you think they'll be addressed by the comments, but otherwise, ask away.
If I could interrupt 1 second, but I should mention that we did take this to the town board, and they did agree that I needn't do anything.
And I have their letter.
Oh.
We will be reading it.
Virginia did say, okay, great.
Okay, I'm a licensed assessor, a licensed realtor, and I'm a former appraiser. And in all of my workings in those fields, we've always considered a structure like they built, a one-story structure with a partial basement. So my question is, how can you consider it a two-story dwelling or a two-story building or whatever?
Because of the basement. It's not strictly one story on a slab. So there is an additional story where they have a basement, and basements are,
I realize
in a
that
home,
there-
is a,
there-
is a walkout basement would
their
be
description
living
on their-
space.
On a permit, should have said that it had a partial basement, and it, should probably be corrected. But I don't think you can consider this a two-story structure, because it's got full dirt on three sides of the basement. It's only the one side that's exposed.
But-
And
But if it were a home, let's just imagine that it were a home,
you wouldn't call it a two-story home either.
you would call it a one-story with a walkout basement, and that floor, that would be a second floor that you could use for living purposes. So, it's a little bit of a semantics thing. I understand what you're saying, but there's more than one floor in that structure. So we've always
Generally, a
considered those
basement
to be
is considered a
two-story.
floor of a building, whether it's a walkout or not. The other question I have, or concern that I have, is when somebody comes in to apply for a building permit for a garage or storage building, are they given any kind of information as to what they can and can't do in as part of their construction?
We do ask a lot of questions. I've even been accused of asking too many, am I going to start getting the list of their children's names and dates that they were born? We do really ask people a lot of questions. How much information we get leads to what the next question is. When people come in and tell us they're going to build a one-story garage on a slab, and we say, is there anything else? And we show them the permit, and this is what it looks like. And we don't get any indication that there's something unusual about it. We probably do not ask more questions. We do require plans if it's on vacant property. We do require plans if it's going to be inspected. This would not be inspected. If it was an attached garage, it would have had plans that were required by the building inspector, but what was provided to us did not trigger a lot more questioning. And we do have a lot of questions. There's the permit itself that has all the little places to fill in the number of stories and the overall height and the size and what kind of construction it is. Is it on a slab? Is it on a basement? Is it on something else? There's a number of questions that get answered. And then there's a whole checklist of things too that get asked as the second part of the permit. So we do ask a lot of questions.
Because, making somebody to remove something that they've already built doesn't provide good PR for the zoning office, doesn't provide good PR for
And-
Board of Adjustment that asks
And we
them
try to
do
avoid
things.
that at all costs.
And if the applicant was handed a sheet saying, these things you can do, these things you can't do, and we signed it and was put in the file, we wouldn't have
Right,
proof.
and if we have
We
had,
would have
if we
proof
had
that
had
they
any
knew what they
indication
could and couldn't do.
that there was below-grade space there, we would have went over the affidavit requirements, we would have required plans. This would have been addressed, but we did not have that indication. And there was no mention of a deck. I'm pretty sure it's more than 100 square feet, so it should have had a permit. I'm not sure it was done right away in 2007.
What's that?
It was done right away? Your deck and patio doors was done,
The patio door was part of the building.
okay.
By the
In
contract.
fact, I included a set of plans,
Yeah,
and that would
original
have been
plans showed
revision
it.
level that I would have taken to zoning.
Okay.
And like I say, it would have been nice if
But it was not mentioned as part of the permit either, and anything over 100 square feet would need to be mentioned, and
how would I know that?
because when you ask about the permit, and they say, is there anything else? You know, oh yeah, there's
I
gonna
don't
be,
recall you being there.
I wasn't, but I know what my staff normally does when they're asking
Well,
questions.
was it your staff at that time?
No, I was not the director, but I was still employed here.
Yeah.
You took the permit, you took the plans there, the plans showed
Right.
that we had the.
And I understand that, and since the implementation of the Uniform Dwelling Code, if people say, do you need plans, we think you are asking, do you need plans for inspection purposes and a building permit from the inspector? So if you're just building a garage, we do not need plans. If it had below-grade space, we would need plans. If it had a deck or a patio door, we would need plans, but none of that was mentioned. There wasn't any trigger.
I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. You know, I brought the plans, went to get the permit, I answered all the questions, you know, the height. I would normally, if this hadn't occurred, I would have said, yeah, 18 feet, because that's, the rest is considered below. So the height above ground of the lot is probably 118.
Yeah, if any of that had seemed out of order, there would have been a request to do that,
Then why wasn't there?
because nothing seemed out of order. It was a
Why
permit
weren't
that,
the plans
it was a permit that you signed that said it was a one-story, X number of size garage on a slab. We had no indication there was below-grade space, no indication there was a deck or a patio door. You know, when you came in for your house, you probably mentioned all that.
I didn't get the permit for the house.
The contractor did.
And I think, well, I didn't check the house right away.
I just have one more question it's regarding the water. Is it not legal to have water in a detached garage, or?
It's not that it's not legal, but once you have any plumbing fixtures and you supply it with water, whether it's from a tank or not, the Amish do that all the time. They have a tank that they fill with water that supplies their plumbing fixtures. Once you have plumbing fixtures, you have to have a suitable means of disposal from that fixture.
A lot of people have hydrants in their garage. Water is nice to have in a garage to wash a car or
Mhm, mhm.
your hands
But they
or
don't-
whatever.
They don't have a sink.
And is that legal?
They can have the hydrant, they can't have the plumbing fixture, the sink.
They can't have a sink to wash their hands? Because there would be a little bit of water that would be wastewater and could contaminate.
And that's the state plumbing code. It's supplied with running water and it has a fixture. That's what the state plumbing code says.
Would a tub be a violation?
Yep, tubs, showers, toilets.
No, a tub. Yeah.
Well, if you filled it from your hydrant and you carried it over to water your plants, you know, that's no different than filling up a watering can to water your plants.
But it can't be a sink.
Can't be a plumbing fixture, and sinks are considered fixtures.
Any
Other questions I have for Terry?
any other questions?
I just have trouble with
says slab. It's not on a complete slab. It says it's only 18 feet tall. It's taller than 18 feet. And the square footage is wrong. He's got it listed as 1,472 square feet, and it's more than that with that lower level. And the deck. And the deck.
Plus on the deck too, you still have your big 4x4 poster. Are you planning a roof on there or
No.
pergola or?
Oh, those are getting cut off, just for the dark.
We didn't finish the
They're pretty,
As you
they've
can
been up
see.
there quite a while.
Any other questions? Anything else you'd like to tell us at this time?
No, not at this time.
Okay, you can have a chair then. Correspondence?
We do have the letter from the town of Saxville that the Williamsons mentioned. We received it back on August 30th. It says, "Dear members of Waushara County Zoning Board or Committee, at its regular monthly meeting on the evening of August 20th, 2012, the members of the Town Board of Saxville voted unanimously in favor of Mr. Williamson's zoning issues with his garage and patio door. This item is to be presented at your meeting on Thursday, August 30th. The board fully supports Mr. Williamson's proposal and had been presented to them." And that's signed Virginia Cartwright, Town Clerk. And on October 15th, we received a letter from Matt Jansen, the wastewater specialist with the Department of Safety and Professional Services.
What was the name?
Matt Jansen, Janzen. And it's addressed to me and regarding the Board of Adjustment appeal for Williamson. It says, "This letter is in response to your inquiries regarding the requirements of having a privately owned wastewater treatment system or POUTS. Specifically, you asked as to the language in the codes requiring a POUTS where water is supplied to a building and wastewater is generated. Aside from state statute chapter 145, which is the legislative authority, the Department of Safety and Professional Services Administrative Code, SPS 382, outlines some pertinent issues. SPS 382.10, Parens 2, Parens A, Parens D, where plumbing fixtures exist in a building that is not connected to a public sewer system, suitable provision shall be made for treating, recycling, dispersing, or holding the wastewater. SPS 382.10, Parens 1, Parens D, states drain systems shall be designed, constructed, and maintained so as to conduct the wastewater or sewage efficiently and shall have adequate cleanouts. The above references state that if water is supplied to a building and fixtures exist, then provisions must be made to adequately address the wastewater generated. Also, as SPS 382.102A points out, unless connected to a public sewer, wastewater must then be disposed of according to the POUTS rules, further addressed in SPS 383. SPS 383.01, purpose. The purpose of this chapter is to establish uniform standards and criteria for the design, installation, inspection, and management of a private on-site wastewater treatment system or POUTS so that the system is safe and will protect public health in the waters of the state. SPS 383.02, scope, says Parens 1, wastewater generation, except as delineated in sub 2, this chapter applies to all the following. A situation where domestic wastewater is collected and conducted by means of plumbing drain systems and is not conveyed to a wastewater treatment facility regulated by the Department of Natural Resources. The above two references show applicability of SPS 383, and the following code section also notes the requirements of the sanitary permit procedure. SPS 383.21, Parens 1, general. A, pursuant to sections 145.135 and 145.19 of the Wisconsin statutes, the installation or construction of a POUTS may not commence or continue unless all of the following have been fulfilled. 1, the owner of the property on which the POUTS is to be installed possesses a valid sanitary permit. And 2, plan approval for the POUTS has been obtained in accordance with section SPS 383.22. And Parens B, the modification of an existing POUTS may not commence or continue unless the owner of the property on which the POUTS is located possesses a valid sanitary permit and has obtained plan approval for the modification under SPS 383.22. If the modification involves the addition or replacement of any of the following. 1, a Pouts holding component, 2, a Pouts treatment component, 3, a Pouts dispersal component. Based upon the information provided regarding the Williamson appeal, you are correct in ordering the removal of fixtures, conveyance of plumbing, and appurtenances unless the wastewater generated is disposed of properly by means of a public sewer or Pouts. If you have any additional questions or need clarification, please contact me. And that's signed Matthew A. Jansen, the wastewater specialist for the Department of Safety and Professional Services. And that is it for correspondence.
No one registered to speak in favor or objecting?
One registered.
Staff comments?
Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you is our office has had difficulties with accessory buildings being used for incidental living space since, I would imagine, the dawn of zoning. And we are not alone. Other counties experience these same difficulties. The problem seems to be worse when the garage has more than one story and is outfitted in such a way that storage or other accessory uses become more difficult and actually don't appear to be the intended use of the property. And in our efforts to address these issues, we have changed our policies and codes over time. That being said, we have always tried to get as much information as we can during the permit process, including any additions such as decks, number of stories, height of the structure, what the structure will be used for. When I look at the permit, I see that it looks like it's going to be one story with an overall height of 18 feet. There's no mention of a partial basement, workshop area, deck, anything out of the ordinary from a standard detached garage. It simply states that this will be a 32 by 46 one-story detached garage on a slab for personal storage, nothing more. For the applicant to say he had plans and ask if we needed to see them is not a red flag for our staff. People sometimes have plans along because they think that they're going to need to have them reviewed for code compliance and then have that subsequent construction inspected. Since 2004, plan reviews have only been required for single and two-family dwellings and all commercial projects. And for this reason, the standard answer for accessory buildings when asked if we need plans is we do not need construction plans. If there had been any indication that this construction was anything other than the standard one-story detached garage that it stated on the permit, we would have asked for drawings or a site plan, but we had no indication of that. Next, decks and patios are just not something we have ever allowed on a storage building. I've never really seen one used strictly for storage. You know, they tend to be used for some kind of accessory or incidental living. That's the kind of addition that they are, and their patio doors are completely not convenient for storage purposes. It's very hard to get things in and out of a patio door. And our office has required the removal of these things when they are installed without our knowledge on accessory buildings many times. And it is noted that they are not allowed when we have any indication that they might be considered on an accessory building. Again, if the applicant had mentioned any of this, I'm sure that we would have made those requirements very clear. But the permit application and the information we had indicates nothing regarding the construction beyond that standard one-story garage. And therefore, I feel it is appropriate to ask the landowner to remove the deck and patio doors and replace that patio door with an overhead door or a double service door, more in keeping with the use that the landowner originally said the structure is to be used for. The same reasoning goes for a second story. It is usually not convenient for strictly storage. It lends itself to be considered accessory living space for occasional guests or a place to get away from it all. I think we're in the era of the man cave. You know, there's you know, spaces that are used as game rooms or whatever. And it has happened many, many times. You know, I can tell you that's why we are so diligent in asking questions, because this has happened before. And if we had known that, an affidavit would have been required at the time that this structure was built, that it was more than one story, that it had any kind of lower living level or any kind of upper living level, or it had more than one story at all. And I guess we do consider it to be more than one story because there's more than one floor. Again, the permit makes no indication of that. If we had known this structure was going to have two stories, we would have required drawings or a site plan. It is has been our policy for many years to do so, and is something that is listed in our code, and we routinely ask for. Again, we had no indication of that. More than 10 years ago, our office modified its policies regarding accessory structures that do not fit the standard detached garage picture to address these issues, and we have consistently enforced those policies and will continue to do so. Structures with 2 stories have been required to sign and record an affidavit restricting the use to accessory or storage only at the time that the permit was issued. The purpose of the permit is, or the affidavit is twofold. First, it puts the current owner on notice what the use of the building is limited to when they apply for the permit. And second, it lets any subsequent owners know that they cannot use the detached garage, no matter how cute or convenient it might be, for any type of incidental or overflow living purpose, but rather is to be used for storage or accessory purposes only. And again, this has been a long-standing practice and requirement of the zoning code and has been consistently instituted at the time that the permit was issued. Because of this, I feel it is appropriate to have the Williamsons sign the affidavit for all the aforementioned reasons. Since Mr. Williamson's permit was issued, the code changed again and actually prohibits 2-story accessory buildings in any residential zoning district, but it would allow them in an agricultural zone, but only for truly agricultural purposes. This property is zoned general agricultural, but the structure is obviously not part of an agricultural operation or being used for an agricultural use. So therefore, this structure would be prohibited in this zoning district under today's codes. But because we issued the permit under the old codes, we are willing to amend the permit to reflect the 2 stories, provided the affidavit is signed and recorded. And the other thing I would like you to consider when we're talking about even incidental living space is that accessory structures are not constructed in a manner to have even that occasional occupancy. There are no inspections to ensure that minimum safety standards are met. There are no sanitary facilities to take care of those times when they will certainly be needed. And when these non-inspected structures are used for any type of living purpose, no matter how incidental or temporary it might be, they are usually the most dangerous places to be. There's been no electrical, heating, plumbing, foundation, or other inspections. Finally, both our county code and the state plumbing code require that any structure that has plumbing fixtures must have a suitable method of disposal of the wastewater being generated, no matter the volume. Therefore, I feel the plumbing fixtures must be removed, and any wastewater piping leading to surface discharge must also be removed. And please remember, this is both a state plumbing code requirement and a county code requirement. We are not allowed to grant a relaxation of a state requirement, and I certainly cannot recommend that we do so to a county code requirement either. And it is a matter of public health and safety, and would have greater implications than to this single property if such relaxations were considered. So in conclusion, I would ask the board to uphold our decision to allow the structure to remain, but with the modifications noted in the August 1st letter of Corp Council. And those were that the land use permit needs to be amended to reflect 2 stories. The accessory building affidavit needs to be signed and recorded. The deck needs to be removed. The patio doors need to be removed and replaced with an overhead or double service door, and the plumbing fixtures and illegal drain must be removed. Thank you.
The applicant have anything in rebuttal? Just come forward then.
Just the fact that on numerous occasions you mentioned that you do ask a lot of questions. Maybe one of the questions should have been, can I see the plans? That's all I'm going to say. It would have saved us all a lot of grief and aggravation. And a lot of these things would have been resolved at this, That's about it.
Mindy, have any other questions? Okay. That closes the public hearing for the Board of Adjustments. The Planning and Zoning Committee will meet for their public hearing. We will adjourn to our room just outside the door. For the business meeting, both applicants are encouraged to come in to our business meeting.
There's your cake.
I will call this meeting with Share County Planning and Zoning Committee to order. Meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applications heard by the Board of Adjustments. Please remember to keep your comments brief and relative to the matter at hand. Anyone other than the applicant or the representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have been registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator. The committee has looked at all the properties, and the record will reflect these observations. Following the public hearing, the committee will conduct a monthly business meeting, at which time they will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the public hearing. Any person affected by the administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Share County Board of Adjustments. Information and applications are available from the county zoning office. The county assumes no liability or makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of the 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. To my left is Fred Gallerup, Larry Crawford, Donna Collada. I'm Joe Piaskin, the vice chair, and Terry. So right. First application is a conditional use for AK Bound LLC. Scott Blajeski, Covington, Georgia, has made application for conditional use in accordance with section 58-236, parentheses 19, and 58-454, parentheses 11, with Share County zoning code to establish a dog kennel, maximum of 10 adult dogs, with no commercial boarding, grooming, or training, utilizing the existing 4x20 kennel in the AG General Ag Zone. Location approximately 39.56 acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 4589, being part of the south one half of the northeast one quarter, section 21, Town of Marion, 22nd Avenue. And our applicant is here. Could you tell us your name and explain your application a little bit?
I'm Scott Blajeski, and pretty much summarize what I was going to say, and that's I'm here to apply for a kennel permit. The county has informed me that anything over 4 adult dogs, which I've got 7, I need to go through this process. I don't have any at all commercial interests in breeding, grooming, training. They're my personal pets, and as the board members that were there yesterday saw, I've got basically a 40-acre playground for them and me to enjoy, and that's just the nature of why I'm here. I did also want to say that according to this little brochure, I don't think there's any problems with what needs to be, the criteria that was mentioned and that's going to be considered. And the questions that were asked of me yesterday pretty much covered any of the issues that could possibly come up. There just basically no impact on surrounding properties or that I'm aware of. I haven't heard any complaints. So.
Okay, we have a few questions for you just for on the record here. So,
some of these questions we did cover yesterday, but this has to be, it's a public, so we have to ask them again. Has there been a recent survey?
Survey of the property? I haven't ordered one.
When did you buy it? Was it surveyed when you bought it? Surveyed off another parcel?
The leaders to the north of me surveyed the north property line. I don't know, when you were out there were PVC tubes in the ground. And then the boundary between my property and Paul Terrace to the west was not part of that survey because it would have to either come from Paul or myself. And that's almost a 1/4 question, I haven't ordered a survey.
There was a certified survey map done, and by the number, I can tell it's not real old, but it's not in the last couple years either. But there is a certified survey map that you might want to get a copy of from the Register of Deeds office,
I see.
so you can see, and maybe you can find some of those pipes. But,
Yeah, I have a feeling the one along the north property line when Bill Lears had it done marks the corner of the west also. I know there's one there, and that. no,
and that's a
I
ways
haven't really
away,
thought about it.
that's a ways away from where you are? Is that,
Quarter of a mile. Where?
your north property line is a quarter of a mile from where your kennel is?
Northwest corner.
The northwest corner
Yep, but
is
how far away,
approximately quarter of a mile from, about 1,200 feet.
how far away is that north property line? Where does it run? How far away from your
North of
kennel?
your buildings.
300 feet?
Okay.
Then you do know where your lot lines are?
Yes.
Okay. Have you contacted the county humane officer?
Yes, I have.
Alright. Are you aware of the county kennel requirements, and will they be followed?
Yes. I say that hesitatingly because the kennel requirements I was assuming were based on the numbers, quantitative. Is there inspections that you're pertaining to, or?
They do inspect the kennel.
The health department does do inspections. It's pretty standard that you have shelter, food, water. You know what I mean? They're not anything overly reaching.
Right.
And you should have gotten a list of some of those from the zoning office when you applied.
I did get a list
Okay.
of some of those now that you
And
mentioned
then-
it,
and
I
then-
contacted the lady, that was one of the contacts.
Sue Letterer,
Yeah.
probably. And as part of your kennel licensing, they will do a inspection of the kennel every year, every other year, I'm not sure which.
I welcome it.
They're looking for bad actors,
Yes, I understand.
is what they're doing. Okay.
Will there be any commercial boarding or training? Okay. Will you breed dogs and sell puppies?
I'm vehemently opposed to that, Ms.
Or do commercial boarding or training, or are these all your own personal dogs?
These are my personal.
Okay. There's no advertising sign planned? All right. Will the kennels be at least 300 feet from the home other than your own? From any home other than your own?
Yes.
Okay. How will the animal waste be disposed of?
Well, it's like I explained yesterday, they are conservatively, they're out of their kennel area about half a dozen times a day. And in the process of running over the 40 acres that we have access to, they relieve themselves just throughout the property. So I haven't had the occasion of having to even clean up the kennel because it's the actual fenced-in part of the kennel because of this situation I have of just allowing them to run.
What would the maximum number of adult dogs be?
The application says 10, and we did that just for some flex, but I've got 7 and I don't want any more.
Okay. Okay,
I don't want any puppies either.
and the dogs are already on the property.
Yes,
Are you staying in the travel trailer right now?
I am.
All right. We see that you've started your new home. When do you anticipate that you'll be able to move into your home, into your new home?
Early spring.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? You can take a seat then. Any correspondence?
There's no correspondence and no one registered to speak.
Next would be staff comments.
For the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this and the other 2 applications that they will be considering tonight. And at this time, I'd like to explain a little bit about conditional use permits. It's always good for people to understand them and then I get to refresh the board every month on this. All defined zones have uses that are permitted outright. You can come in and build a house on your property. You know, there's no special thing to go through for that, provided you meet all the criteria for doing that. And then there's also uses that may be permitted, provided certain conditions are met. And that's what we're looking at here. A use that may be permitted, but you need to meet certain conditions in order to be sure that the use remains in keeping with the surrounding area and the other property owners. In some counties, these permits are called special exception permits, and that makes it easier for people to understand. It is the landowner's responsibility to provide the information that shows the committee this use is still in keeping with the zone and area it is proposed for, and that the conditions normally placed on it will ensure it will be a good neighbor to the surrounding landowners. When the committee visited the property, they noted that the dogs are all the landowner's personal dogs with no boarding, training, or breeding planned for the public. They also noted that the kennel is securely fenced. The planned home has been started. There may be some issues with establishing a well because of the close proximity to the old landfill across the street, but water is currently available for the dogs via an irrigation well on the property. And this application seems fairly straightforward to me. I would, however, recommend looking at the application again when the land use permit for the new home expires to ensure that there will be someone on premises to care for the animals. Our code does not specifically say you have to have a home there, but it indicates that there would be one because it says that the kennel needs to be 300 feet from any home other than the owners. And you just want to make sure that there's someone there to take care of the dogs and that they do have fresh water, food, all that kind of thing. And we always do recommend putting on a maximum number of dogs so you don't change your mind and decide you're going to make oodles of money on labradoodles or something. So we will put a maximum number of dogs on that. And other than that, I believe the applicant has addressed all the issues.
Okay. Does the applicant have any rebuttals or anything you want to say? Okay. We'll move on to the next one. Second conditional use is Tammy Krazik of Fond du Lac has made application for conditional use in accordance with section 58-236, parentheses 18, 58-454, parentheses 31 of the Washare County zoning code to store a 1985 Yellowstone 32-foot travel trailer in AG General Ag Zone. Location is approximately 20.10 acre parcel of land known as Lot 9, certified survey map number 4210, being part of the west one half of the northwest one quarter, the southwest one quarter, section 26, town of Hancock, on Brown Deer Court, a private road. Applicant here.
Yes, I am, Tim Krofchick.
You state your name and tell us a little bit about your application.
My name is Tim Krofchick, and we purchased the property for deer hunting and recreational. The reason we'd like to have a travel trailer up there is for deer hunting. We don't have to drive in there, scare all the animals away, and also have a place to stay when we are up there on the weekends. And I have another gentleman who hunts with me, and he drives up from Milwaukee, and he would be staying there most of the time with me.
Okay. And we have some committee questions for the record there. So.
Yeah, I have a few questions here. Has there been a recent survey?
We just purchased the property from Century 21, and I don't know when the last survey was done. We did go through the property and found where the markers were. We had a difficult time finding the one on it would be the northeast corner. It was actually in the middle of the road. I don't know if any of you folks were there to see it, but where you come through, we had to get a metal detector, and we put a flag in the ground where the pipe is. That was the only one we couldn't find. All the rest were there.
Do you know where your lot lines are?
Correct. Yes, we located all of them, but just that one. And we did have the gentleman who lives next to us, Harold. He actually came up with the metal detector and showed us exactly where it was. And we did mark it, so it is tagged.
We were out there and saw two travel trailers to the north, one on each side of the easement. Will yours be to the south of these units and west of the fire lane?
Yes, ours will be to the southwest. I don't know if you drove down the road that we made to go back there. When you get to the far south east corner, you would turn to the right, which would travel west, and then it's about a quarter of the way down the property, and then you'll see where it's all, there's a little shed back in there and a fire pit, and we've got it all cleaned out up there.
Nope, we went down the fire lane on the east boundary, so,
You went all the way to the, oh, you just went down the east?
yeah.
Okay, and then
That
when you
wasn't as nice as
No.
the other road that I found.
Yeah, those are,
when we
that's
drove around
another
by the-
reason why we'd like to leave the trailer there, because it's awful hard on the equipment. We can get them in and out of there, but
Don't tell my husband his car went down that fire lane.
these aren't maintained roads.
The trailer is not there right now. though,
No,
right? Okay.
I wouldn't
That's
put it
why we
there
didn't
unless
find
it was
it.
approved.
Okay.
Correct. And we do take it there on the weekends, prior in the summer and stuff like that, but we wouldn't do anything without having approval.
Is the trailer a license and roadworthy now?
Yes, it absolutely is.
Will the trailer be at least 100 feet from all lot lines, including the access road?
Absolutely.
Will there be running water?
No, there is no well. All the water that we have, we carry in.
What type of sanitary facilities are you planning?
We have a self-contained porta potty set up in the shed, which is all self-contained, and then that goes with us on the weekends when we leave.
Are there any other buildings or structures planned?
No,
Are there other travel trailers in the area other than the two we noticed?
just the two that Harold has. One is Harold's, and the other one I think is his son's. He's up visiting him. He comes up for a month or so at a time.
Is a new driveway needed?
No.
Is this property in management forest land?
Agricultural, I think, I really don't think so.
You would get a tax credit for
Oh,
forest
no.
purposes?
No,
so
I don't know. There is a easement for the gas pipeline on the west side of the property, but that's a long ways away from where the trailer will be parked.
Do you have a uniform property address number?
No.
Fire number?
No, sir, I don't.
If approved is granted, when would your trailer be placed?
I'd like to place it there this weekend if it's approved. So we'd have it set up for deer hunting upcoming this. We do bow hunt there now, so we're up there just about every weekend now. But I do have a place over on Fish Lake also. So we've been staying there, but like I say, we'd rather be on the property than having to drive in every morning and spook anything out.
That's all the questions I have.
Anybody else?
All
Any-
that just for you.
Yeah, did turkey hunting too.
I can tell your wife is like,
Well, I live with 4 girls too, so I have to have a place to get away. Oops, sorry, honey.
yeah.
I'll pay for that later.
Yeah, you will.
I do have one more question. Did you talk to the town chairman? I had this letter out like I was going to read it, but I see you signed it, so you might as
I
well
did
just
talk with
tell us about it.
Mr. Miller, and he said as long as I comply with what the board has decided, he has no problems with it. And he said they would be welcome to call him if they had any questions.
It's not a letter from Paul Miller. It's that he signed it that said he talked to him. So
Yes.
I really shouldn't read it because it's not from Paul Miller, so you should.
I
you
had
should
personally
tell us, so.
called Paul Miller. I got his phone number from the lady in the zoning office, and he had contacted me twice. And he, at that time, I asked him, do we need a letter? Do I need anything? He says, no. He says, just comply with what they say.
So there is no correspondence?
There is no correspondence.
Anyone registered?
No one registered either.
You can take a seat. The
Thank you.
staff comments.
Another conditional use, so if we have the right conditions on it, it would be something that could be permitted there, provided the conditions are placed on it. When the committee visited the property, they noted that this will definitely not be visible from the public road, and likely will not be very visible to other property owners in the area. They also noted that there are several other travel trailers in the area, and I'm aware of several on the private road that heads to the north when you're first getting in there. So there are several in the area. My only comments are this is really a basic application. It's been well presented. There are similar units and land uses in the surrounding area, so I have no other comments.
Anything else you want to say? No, sir. Okay. And we'll go on to our last one, which is number 3. It's Dan and Carrie Marquardt of Waukesha. Made an application for conditional use in accordance with section 58-236, parentheses B, parentheses 11, and 58-454, parentheses 22, with Share County zoning code to place a 2013 Dutch 14x66 mobile home in the AG General Ag Zone. Location approximately 20-acre parcel, being the south one half of the northwest one quarter of the southwest one quarter of Section 1, Town of Coloma, and 2218 6th Avenue. Applicant here. And state your name and tell us a little bit about your application.
Name is Daniel Marquardt. My wife and I, we come up here on the weekends. We have family up here. We really like the area. We would, with everyone's permission, would love to put a nice trailer on our property to use just mainly for recreation. We don't hunt or anything. That's pretty much it.
Okay, we have some questions for you.
Okay.
Yep, I got them. Are there any other mobile homes in the area?
Yes, there are.
Are any additions or other buildings planned?
No, sir.
Is a new driveway needed?
No, sir.
What type of foundation will the mobile home be placed on?
It'll be put on a slab with a grade beam, same as our outbuilding was built. I do have a plan as far as how it should be constructed.
Okay. This is a new mobile home, right?
Correct.
And where is the mobile home now?
Actually, it hasn't been ordered, so it doesn't exist at this time, I believe.
Okay. And has a soil test been taken?
I do believe that the perk test has been done. We have placed a down payment to have a septic system done. It has just been staked out, and the soil test, from my knowledge, has been done. That's as far as it is at this point.
Actually, we did issue a sanitary permit on September 20th. So
Okay.
soils, the design's done. The permits,
Soil test has been.
yep, the permit's ready for installation
Okay.
whenever you are.
Has there been a recent survey?
Our south and east property line are fenced in. The property line to the north was just surveyed recently by my neighbor. So that's the only one that wasn't fenced, which we were unsure of, and he had that done.
If an approval is given, when would the mobile home be placed?
Springtime. I wouldn't say early spring because the slab would have to be done. There's a lot of things to be done. If we do get permission soon, we will place the order on the trailer to get that rolling, and give them their money down.
Unfortunately, we cannot find any permit for placement of a park unit on the property. If permission is granted to place the mobile home, how long before the park unit would be removed?
Immediately.
Quick enough. You have a fire number already, is that correct?
Yes, it's N2218 6th Avenue.
And the pole building is used only for storage?
Correct.
If an approval is granted, when would you place the home?
Depending on how soon I can have somebody do the concrete work and get the trailer ordered, you know, we're ready.
That's all the questioning I have.
Anybody else? Okay, you can take a seat.
Thank you.
Any correspondence?
No correspondence, but at 8 in the morning on October 11th, the town chairman did call, and he stated that the town board had met and discussed this application, and consensus was that the town board supported the application. They certainly had no issues with the placement as proposed, and he went on to say he's welcoming the Markforts to the community. He's happy to have them. So that was Mark Kirschner, the town chair, and again, that was a phone call of October 11th.
No one in favor, opposed? to
No
speak?
one else registered, no more
Staff
correspondence.
comments?
When the committee visited the property, they noted that the area for the mobile home and septic system were well marked. The unit will not be visible from the public road. The proposal does include the removal of the park unit presently on the property without permits. And again, I think this application is pretty straightforward. We're going to correct an issue that we would like to see corrected. And the applicant certainly has done their due diligence in preparing for the placement of a unit such as this. So that's it.
Okay, is there anything else, comments? Okay, we will now close the public hearing portion of our meeting, and we'll go on to our business meeting. Fred has a roll call. Approval of the agenda.